Hello, everyone. We're back in the series for another subject. Now, a lot of high school kids may not take psychology, but in college, they will take psychology, you know, or they have a pretty good chance of taking psychology. So, we're going to continue this series. Nate's letter, or Nate's message, rather, Nate's message to a principal. As we all know, um, and my experience in the school system is that certain things are taught from youth. Like when I was subbing in the school system, all the kids, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, it's like they don't know. Well, they probably know, but they haven't made up their mind as far as what person they want to be, because that happens around 18 years old. So all the kids I've seen, black, white, Spanish, Asian, they all love Mr. Jones. I mean, they may have their little nuances, and they may see different tones of skin in the school, but they're at that age where they haven't even explored possibilities, or they haven't even decided on what kind of person they want to be, right? So there's something called adolescent psychology that we're going to take a look at in this video, part 6, or should I say this is part 7. And we're going to look at the 4 areas of adolescent psychology. Let's go ahead and put up the figure on the screen here. So we see here there are 4 areas of the thought process or the development of an adolescent, middle school, high school. So you have identity achievement, identity moratorium, identity foreclosure, and identity diffusion. And you see the column yes and the column no. And the question, individual has committed to an identity, right? Because kids and people growing up are trying to figure out, who am I going to be? And of course, there's that part, nature, nurture. Certain things are nurtured, right? So this is a basic point of adolescent psychology that people study in college. To kind of, get an understanding of what young people go through. And at once upon a time, most of us were young. Amen. So here we see a matrix of what students see in college when they learn about adolescent psychology, right? So we'll go through all 4 briefly. Identity achievement, that's when an individual has explored identity options and has committed, right? They've been open minded, study options, and then making a decision, right? Identity foreclosure is when an individual has not explored identity options, but has already made up their mind, right? And that sounds like a Karen, right? They didn't foreclosed without exploring or understanding other options. Identity moratorium is when an individual has neither explored any options nor have they committed to an identity, right? So that person, is still learning, trying to figure out, you know, what they want to do. And identity diffusion, number 4, is when a youngster has not, or let me back up. Moratorium is when an individual has explored their identity, but they have not committed. My apologies. They have explored options, but have not committed. And number four, identity diffusion is when a student has neither explored options nor have they committed. So this is a basic matrix graph of what students study in college, right? And we've all, the grown-ups listening to this series, we've all gone through this process, right? And in every, most classes that I've studied in English, we always talk about nature and nurture, right? Nobody is born a racist. That stuff is learned, that stuff is passed down from one generation to another. Our history shows that there have been Chinese racists, there have been Spanish racists, there have been white racists and black racists, right? But here in America, the racism seems to come from one side as opposed to the other side, right? So when you look at this matrix on the screen, which one do you think that a Karen will fall under, right? Because it's all about education. Look up Jane Elliott. Jane Elliott is a white woman who is against racism and discrimination. And she said things are learned, right? So it's all about how we're brought up, all about how we, come up when we're adolescents, youngsters. So when you look at this matrix, America, which one do you think a Karen? Notice I said a Karen, right? That's an indefinite article. A Karen. So which one of these do you think Karen will fall under? Well, if you've answered identity foreclosure, then you're probably right. Now, this is probably a racist person in general. It could be a person of any race, right? So, identity foreclosure is when a person has not explored any other options, but they have already committed and made up their mind as to who they want to be. Amen. A lot lately, we've been hearing about the expression sundown towns, right? And of course, the sundown town is when they tell you when the sun go down, your black behind better not be in this town. You heard me? And a lot of towns are designed certain ways to keep other people out and to keep some people in. Now, those individuals, because I don't think black folks have a sundown town. We don't have those. We we're not that crazy. But when you have a sundown town or a sundown school, you're pretty much telling America that we're not going to explore any other options for our identity. Our mind is already made up. So this, and of course, things are learned, ladies and gentlemen. Things are learned in America. We all learn traits from our parents, grandparents, people that we look up to when we're growing up. So when it comes to identity, you got to think about these processes, ladies and gentlemen, of how people think, what their thought process is, and this will give you some insight as to why people think certain ways, right? Nate Jones is an open-minded individual. Like I said, I ran for mayor for all people, right? I've already explored options, and my option is to love all people. Now, we got to teach our kids that the word foreclosure is not a good word, right? Especially when you get a house and you don't pay your darn bills on time, and that bank gives you that foreclosure statement. That means the bank has already uh, made up their mind about foreclosing on your damn house, without even exploring any other options, right? Because you already had a contract. The bank is not going to consider any other options to save you from foreclosure. They're just going to make up their mind and take action on your house. Amen. So foreclosure, teach your kids that that could be a negative word. In the world of psychology, identity foreclosure, America, is very, very dangerous. When a person has not educated themselves, regardless of what race they are, they have not educated themselves about how other people think, what their problems are, what their ancestors' problems were. They've already made up their mind without even stopping, pausing, and thinking about it. If you're from New Orleans, you know about a person named DJ Jubilee. He always used to sing and he always used to say, stop, pause, think about it, right? Whenever you have relations with other people, you got to think about the other person, why they act certain ways, why they think certain ways, why they do this, why they do that. You have to kind of be understanding. Identity foreclosure is a very, very dangerous identity trait, boys and girls, in America, because it shows that a person hasn't done their homework. I mean, do the Karens of America actually sit down and talk to black women and understand them? Probably not. So that goes to show you that, and of course, you can't say the same thing about a black woman, because black women took care of white babies in slavery. It's a proven record. When Massa and his wife went on a trip and they had kids, the kids would stay behind with the black woman to take care of the babies until Massa and the wife come back, right? So black women are natural nurturers. So you couldn't apply this to a black woman, because black women have already shown you historically for 400 years that they can empathize with other races. Now, the Karens of America, they don't have that discernment like black women. And like I said in previous videos, this wouldn't be in America without black women, because black women refuse to foreclose on their identity, because in their genes, they know that their great great grandmothers have taken care of other people of other races that treated them harshly. So, America, identity foreclosure is a very, very dangerous, very, very dangerous identity trait, because it shows that you're already locked and loaded without doing your homework. And when you're locked and loaded without doing your homework, you're just a half a second away from pulling a trigger and killing someone. I'm just saying this proverbially, metaphorically. When you're locked and loaded with your hand on the trigger, it's very, very hard to change that. So, white folks, like I said, I ran for mayor for y'all too. We're asking y'all, do not foreclose. We begging you, do not foreclose. I don't care what Donald Trump says or does. Do not foreclose, because black people love y'all.